welcome to the sit down. I'm your man Rod Love, and sitting next to me is none other than the General Attorney.
This is Let's Talk Nation. You said to sit down.
Oh man, I'm still a show behind. I got okay, yeah. You did the rewind. You did the rewind. Did I say that actually?
Yeah, you said that actually.
Okay, all right. Let me start this again. Hey, welcome to Let's Talk Nation.
Now listen, nothing against the sit down. Absolutely nothing against sit down. But
you can tell my frame of mind. But hey, those of you who are watching, welcome to Let's Talk Nation. He got it in my head now. Welcome to Let's Talk Nation. I'm your man Rod Love, and sitting next to me is the General. He always be on point, y'all. Attorney Greg Jackson.
Once again, it's on, brother Love. You know how we get this thing started out every week, man. But this was a special weekend. But how was your Resurrection Sunday weekend?
Hey man, it was excellent, and Rev get down like he always get down.
Mm-hmm.
He brings the word, but you know what, Greg? I got to tell you, man. This Easter Sunday, something that, and maybe I don't pay attention sometimes, I don't know.
Okay.
But one other thing, man, that just really impressed me was how many young people were in church. Hey, you know what they say about church?
I'm confused.
Okay, I'm gonna tell you.
I'm
gonna tell you.
But
you know
why the number of young people in church astonish you?
Here's why. They say if you walk in a church and you see, everybody that's in the church in their 50s or 60s. Do you know what they say about churches when you look up and see everybody in their 50s and 60s?
Depends on the church, man.
Depends on the church.
I know what you're saying. I know where you're going.
You know where I'm going?
Yeah.
Okay.
I know exactly where you're going.
So what's been said is if you always see the elderly generation in church,
mm-hmm.
that's a church that on life support. That's a church on its way to dying.
That's a true statement.
And so when I tell you, man, I was just blown away, man. And I was sitting in the back pews.
Mm-hmm.
And from my vantage point, everywhere I turned, I saw young people.
And the only reason why I say why you're surprised is because I remember in days of old, if you didn't go to church any other time, you went to church on Easter Sunday because you had your Easter suit or your Easter dress, in the case of the young ladies, and you had your Easter speech. And that's when you had the opportunity to do your Easter speech.
That's what.
And then the churches were packed. The young people were there. I mean, it's that. So where I'm from, that's when you always expect to see the young people.
It was impressive. And man, I mean, all the different ages, man, and it was just impressive, man.
But now here's a question. Did you make it to Easter sunrise service?
Hey, anyway, hey Doc, give us some sides on the screen. You see how he trying to corner me.
Ask me that question.
Did you make it?
No. I didn't know where it was.
Oh, see, that must be Mondo giving us the life.
That was a real question because I didn't make it.
Yo, you didn't make it.
No, I didn't make it.
But man, I tell you, again, man, Rev always does a good job. He got up there after everything was taking place.
Yeah.
He says, "Well, y'all, I'm glad everybody's ready now and warmed up." Mm-hmm. He says, "I won't be long. I'll just be 5 hours." hey, when he said that,
oh man,
you heard everybody.
Uh-huh.
That hard again.
Yeah.
But when he said that, man, that really loosened people up, man, and we was ready to go.
Yeah. I won't be nothing but 5 hours.
I won't be long. I'll just be 5 hours.
So that's right. You just want to see if there's listening.
Oh well, everybody was listening because when he said that, I had to do one of these. But now, man, what did you do on your Resurrection Day?
So, I don't know if you remember or not, Brother Love, but I was supposed to be in trial.
Oh, that's right.
And so this weekend, to include yesterday, I was in trial prep mode, and in the 11th hour, as luck would have it, we got the case resolved. In the 11th hour.
That wasn't luck. That was y'all. That was skill.
But listen, whatever it was, because this is one that did not need to see the light of day in anybody's court.
Oh wow!
I will be upfront and honest, and so I am glad that one. And it was a doggone good result.
Yeah.
It was a doggone good result. So I'm happy
So
about
congratulations to
that.
you, man.
Yeah. So I mean, I spent my Resurrection Sunday in the book, so to speak.
Man, okay,
In the book,
okay.
so to speak.
That's all right. That's all right.
But so listen, brother love. One of the things we got to talk about, there was a tragedy that occurred last week. It was on the campus of Florida, and unfortunately, on April 17th of last week, there was a mass shooting on the campus of Florida State University. And the interesting thing, brother love, the unfortunate thing is this: there were 6 people who were injured in this. One of which I believe is still hospitalized. The others are doing well or recovering well. And there were 2 individuals who were killed in this tragedy. One was a football coach in the area, also a FSU employee. The other was actually a vendor who was actually visiting Florida State. He was there on business. 45-year-old guy who was a father of 2. Just there on a regular day doing his job.
Wrong place, wrong time.
Had no idea he wasn't going to be able to make it home to see his family that night. And so this unfortunate incident has affected and rocked not just Florida State University, but it has rocked the state of Florida. It has rocked and it has impacted the state of Carolina, where the 45-year-old dad was from, and it has rocked this country because yet again we have an issue of a mass shooting.
So Greg, you talked about 2 individuals that lost their life, 6 people injured. Do we know why?
So that's a great question because there is no motive just yet. The gunman in this case, who was a 20-year-old FSU student, is still in the hospital himself. He was shot in this ordeal. He's in the hospital, and once he's released from the hospital, he's going to be arrested. But one of the things that came out is that he would spew a lot of right-wing rhetoric. Far right-wing rhetoric. He was actually a part of some political group that kicked him out because he had gone too far, idolizing or I forget the term that I want to use, but Hitler and the Nazis and all of this other stuff. So they
what was all this on social media?
Yeah, I mean, all this is on the news report, not just social media, but the news report out of Tallahassee and the national news. But the more interesting thing about the story, this is a tragedy, but the more interesting thing is that the person that committed this heinous crime is actually the stepson of a senior Leon County deputy. And the weapon that he used, get this, brother love, the weapon that he used was her old service firearm.
Greg, listening to the reports and basically listening to law enforcement, and I got to commend law enforcement for making the public or providing the public the information as quickly as they did. And when you talk about the service weapon that was used, it was that individual deputy's former service weapon that I guess, Greg, was retired because the agency went to a different weapon, and I guess they allow the officers or the deputies to purchase those when they take them out of service and give them new ones.
Yeah.
With that, there was a question that I heard from a reporter regarding the deputy whose stepson it was. And the question was, is this deputy going to be put on leave? And the response, and I thought, Greg, was a good response because the law enforcement officer basically said, we have no reason to do that at this time.
And I'm going to call BS on that.
So go ahead.
Oh, I'm going to call BS on that. Well, first and foremost, let's do this part because I think that you correctly stated that kudos needs to go to law enforcement. Our good friend John Burns, who is with Aggression Management, has oftentimes told us that when these mass shootings start, the carnage is already there. And so law enforcement, they're coming in, they're stepping over the wounded, the dying, or the already dead is how I think he puts it. And in this particular case, because law enforcement can't be there as soon as something happens, but in this particular case, from the moment that the first shot was fired or the moment that the report was made, because initially the kid came up and he pulled a shotgun on the guy and the shotgun misfired. And that guy ran and called law enforcement from there. The kid, from my understanding, went to his car and got the other weapon that he had that he actually used to do the shootings. But from the point of that initial contact until the point that he was shot, my understanding, 4 minutes. 4 minutes. Now listen, 4 minutes is a long time if you're undergoing that. But 4 minutes from the time that this incident started until the time that this situation was under control is amazing.
So, but here, and I thought their response at that press conference, again, I give kudos because we often talk about restricting information. I think law enforcement has learned, man, let's get as much out that we know, because sometimes you don't want to put misinformation out there. Or you never want to put misinformation out there.
Well, listen, let's give a lot of credit to where we are today with social media, because if they didn't tell it, somebody else is going to.
Oh yeah, you're right. You're right.
So it's good that they got ahead of the story, that they put the information out there. It's good that they said before anyone started digging and found out that this kid was the stepson of a law enforcement agency, with the Leon County Sheriff's Department. But here's where I disagree with them saying that there's no reason to to reassign or to place this on administrative leave. Yeah. Definitely on administrative leave. How did he get the weapon? Where was it? How is it, or why is it that he had access to her retired service firearm?
So let me ask. I'm just legitimately. Let me ask this question, and I'm not defending. But when you say that, the first thing that I'm thinking about is if we're talking about an underage child, that would be the first question that I would ask.
Yeah, listen, it doesn't matter who.
Okay, I get what you're saying, but you see, you're talking about another adult. But here's the question I do have for you: this pattern that you're talking about, and so now I'm putting things in a different perspective. This pattern that was already out there, would that incline a person to say the behavior is so radical, I need to look at where I'm securing and what I'm doing to secure my.
Absolutely.
So
and she is a professional law enforcement officer. She knew or should have known that this kid that was in her house that had issues. The reason, because that's not the real name. The name that he's using is not his real name.
No.
He changed his name because now remember that his name is he's calling himself Phoenix. The reason why is because he's saying that he's rising from the ashes of the abuse that he has sustained by his mom, by his real mom. She knew that this kid had some issues. She knew it. She knew or should have known about the rhetoric that he was spewing that got him kicked out of this club or whatever he was in. She knew this. The only difference between this kid and the 14, 15-year-old kid in Michigan is the age.
Okay, and here's something.
I don't think you heard me. Don't jump over that. Don't jump over that now. The only difference between this 20-year-old kid, which he's still a kid, the only difference between this 20-year-old kid and that 14, 15-year-old boy in Michigan, where his parents are going to prison, is his age.
I get it. But something you just said and something you just broke down, I'm gonna go ahead and say this to you. And this is days after a tragedy. When I was listening to the press conference, when I was listening to what was being presented, I'm taking it in my opinion, man, from a logic model perspective. But something you said that really, really kind of jarred me to this extent that I know law enforcement has to be asking the same question. And that is, based on the behaviors that was obvious to everybody.
Right.
And one of the questions that we're going to address too is there something that social media platform that's supposed to be monitoring? Is it something that, but closer to that young man than social media was the step? Yeah.
His family.
Yeah. So I get, you know what? When I'm wrong, I'll say I'm wrong.
But listen, I will say this. Now is not the time for those questions. But when the annals of history are turned back, and people say now they're starting to question why it is or how it is got this weapon, they're going to go to April 21st at 7:14 p.m. and they're going to hear that Let's Talk Nation again was at the forefront of this conversation and saying that this mom, who was a law enforcement officer, and listen, I'm not even saying. Well, no, I am saying that. I'm absolutely saying that she bears some blame. I'm absolutely saying that.
And you know what, Rick? When you break it down like that, man, I gotta say, I gotta say that is something, man, that you got to take into serious consideration. And since we're there, let me ask this question, man.
Yeah.
Since we're there, we talk about should the stepmother have known based on behaviors that should have been obvious to them. But then, Greg, we see different social media platforms testifying before Congress all the time.
Yeah, especially at the tail end of Biden's administration.
Correct.
Yeah.
So Greg, I asked you this question, man, in your thoughts about it. Can social media do? I mean, because I tell you, our good friend, our executive producer, Doc Polite, he, he's telling me all the time about the issues that he has with social media restricting him quite often.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, this was so blatant, man. Do you think there's something that social media could have done?
I think there's something that social media should have done.
Mm-hmm.
With the advent of AI, with the advent of things like ChatGPT and all of the other things that are taking place on social media, I think that it should have tagged what types of searches this kid was doing. If there were any messages that he was putting out, it should have tagged any of the messages that he was putting out there, and they should have restricted his access to social media. Now, would that have absolutely prevented him from having the ideas? I mean, he could have gone to other sources. He could have used a fake name. He could have done something. But I think that social media, these platforms, are going to have to be a lot more cognizant of the material that's coming across their systems, as well as the effect that it has on young people. And they have admitted, and they have actually apologized for the effect of social media issues or things, messages that are coming across social media, where even kids are committing suicide from messages that they have on social media. They know that there's an issue and a problem. You have people that are literally being radicalized on social media through these platforms. And knowing those things, they cannot continue to sit back with the blind eye and say, not our problem.
Okay, with that, Greg, here's something that we've discussed, man, all 8 years that we've been doing this. Here's something that has been discussed prior to. Greg, we're going to hear discussion about gun control. Yep. We're going to hear discussion about societal issues. And we're going to hear something that, does need more conversation, but mental health. So what do you think what direction does this go into?
So personally, I think that, depending on the party that you're in, I think that people are going to make this an immediate gun control issue. In my mind, this is not a gun control issue. In my mind, this is clearly a mental health / societal issue. Now, the reason why I say societal, now the first part of the mental health part, remember what I told you about this kid just straight away. He changed his name because he was saying that, he had been abused. He had gone through some things with his birth mom to where now he has a new mom, a new family. He has a rebirth of who he is. And if you look at him, he looks a little off too. I mean, I'm not being funny. I'm being for real. He just looks a little off. He looks like something, something ain't clicking it. But the reason why I say it's also societal is because through the social media platform, he was able to tap into these various groups and to get these ideas. And when you have someone who may have some mental health issues, they're going to be attracted to things that they feel will empower them in some form or fashion. And I think that from a societal standpoint, him going on the social media, becoming a part of this false world of social media, because that's all social media is. Social media is a false world where people can go and they interact with false things, not even real people. And it has caused him to be and to develop into the societal being that will go out, take a gun, shoot and kill 2 people, shoot or cause 6 other people to be hurt. And the only reason why there was not more damage is because law enforcement was there in 4 minutes.
In 4 minutes. Greg, you brought up a good friend to the show, man, and you brought up John Burns.
I did. And John just texted and said, "Take the sit down off of that too."
Oh, hey, I'm gonna let Doc do that.
Thank you.
But well, I tell you, man, we just running backwards today, man. But great. When we talk about John Burns and then what his organization does, Greg, it appears as though all of the red flags were there.
Yeah. I mean, listen. As I said, the only difference between this kid and the young man in Michigan is his age. I mean, you have, the family issues that were there. You have the bullying issues that were there. You have someone who joined groups who was being put out of groups because of his radical thought processes and things like that. So I mean, all of the red flags, or at least the initial portions of the red flags, were there. But in my mind, the red flags were in the home to where, listen, I don't know how he got his hands on this weapon, but he should not have gotten his hands on this weapon. That is my firm opinion, and I'm not backing down from that.
Right. One of the things, I mean, as we talk about this, man, and I respect HIPAA and all of that, the right to privacy. But man, I'm just real curious if this young man had ever had any of the interventions, such as Baker Act and things of that nature, that again, because of HIPAA, I mean, that's protected.
No. Because remember, the same thing with Nicholas Cruz. Once he committed these heinous crimes, or the one that he committed, we found out. And then that's a little too. That's too little, too late.
Too late. Yeah.
And that's why it is important that when you have people that are exhibiting these signs and family members or friends see these things, that we get ahead of them and get in front of it, because the prevention starts then, not when that person has a gun in their hand.
Greg, we have a caller. Hey, caller, John Burns, how you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you so much. And what an important topic.
No doubt, Brother Burns. So I assume you heard that we're talking about this unfortunate school shooting in Tallahassee, Florida, on the campus of Florida State University. We were just talking about your program. What is your program? I never give it the justice that it deserves.
Well, it's called CAPS, the Critical Aggression Prevention System. And it identifies the precursors, not just to violence, but also sexual harassment, abuse, bullying, discrimination, all of these maladaptive behaviors that cost employers and humans both financially and human cost. And the idea here is, let's get out in front. And you mentioned a couple of these when you speak about mental health. Mental health plays an important role in helping people become whole. But sadly, because it's too subjective and because of HIPAA regulations, it's not very effective in identifying who future violent people might be. Now, what we train people to do is to identify these sequential successive precursors that start at a very low level and they accelerate, they escalate. And as they do, it gives you the ability, like the mother as an example, the stepmother. Had she been trained, she could see the signs that this person was heading toward potential violence, and would probably have taken a lot more care to make sure that he didn't get access to a weapon.
And I'm going to tell you the thing about the mom that gets me, Brother Burns, and I think that this is something that law enforcement should really and truly hear about the CAPS program. But the mom herself was law enforcement. And I think that, understanding that she herself being law enforcement, the importance of identifying individuals who may, be on the path of these types of activities. How does your program identify, or would your program have identified a person like Phoenix in this case?
I believe it would have, yes. And because we'd have identified the precursors to these elements that ultimately became a shooting experience. So, we developed this concept of what we call primal and cognitive. Primal is that adrenaline-driven aggression, the type where someone is moved by adrenaline and they get to a point where they snap.
Right.
Very typically, that's not the kind of person that we're talking about. This person is more of a cognitive aggressor, an intent-driven aggressor, someone who's decided that they're going to injure someone. Now, to what degree, we see progressions of that. And it starts very early in that sometimes it's as simple as we distinguish between assertive and aggressive behavior. Assertive behavior says, I'm going to win because I'm going to be the best that I can be. Whereas aggressive behavior says, I'm going to win because I'm going to take you out. Aggressive behavior is destructive and negative. Is something that's constructive and positive. It's assertive behavior. So, Greg and Rod, we're not making that distinction in our society, and this is why we have boxers that bite off each other's ears. In other words, they can't seem to make the distinction between where good aggression ends and bad aggression begins.
Brother Jackson, let me ask you this question.
Yeah.
Was this young man enrolled? Was he
Yeah,
enrolled?
he was FSU student.
Okay, so let me ask this. He was enrolled, and we're talking about behaviors that became obvious to, like, hey John, man, we appreciate you dialing in. John, let everybody know about your company once again, man, and how they can get a hold of it.
Well, thank you. It's called the Center for Aggression Management. You go online, you find center, you go look online for aggressionmanagement.com.
Okay.
And there you'll find a telephone number, emails for us. Reach out to us. We'd love to chat with you further.
John, how can people get? Hey, John, you're located in Central Florida, right? You're located in Winter Park.
I live in Orlando, Florida, in the area called Lake Nona. And yes, I've been here for over 40 years.
Okay. Well, tell you what, John, we appreciate, man, the expertise that you bring to the table. I'm going to engage Brother Jackson for some further dialogue. And go ahead, Greg. I'm sorry.
By all means.
All right. Hey, thanks to Brother Brown. But listen, we before we do this, man, I got to do this.
Oh, I know why you're doing that. I know why you're doing that.
I know why you're doing it too.
Hey, Doc, that's right on time.
That's sharp, Doc. I like that hat, man.
Hey,
Oh man, listen. Hey, where you get that from?
Hey, it's actually brown. I don't know why it looks like it's purple on the.
no, it looks brown.
That look, bro.
Oh, okay.
Hey, I had to give your own theme music to come on this time, man. I
Hey,
like that.
he's showing out, man.
Thank
He had
you,
a different
thank you.
brim. He had a different.
Thank you, I
brim on the
appreciate that.
sit-down.
Oh, he did.
Oh yeah, he had another bad one on the sit down.
Now see, a lot of people would take y'all joking serious, but I
No,
That's
listen.
just how we
Hey,
do
you had to get your own theme song on that one, man.
Hey,
Listen, Doc not doing it justice because he don't have the lights on in there.
Where it can pop.
Yeah. He don't have the lights on where.
hey,
But hey,
hey,
Doc,
you
man,
wait till
Doc, what's your thought?
Huh?
Go ahead.
Go ahead. What were you gonna ask?
No, but you know, we're talking about, you know, young man that committed a heinous crime in the shooting on FSU campus, man. What's your thoughts about that?
You know what John said is absolutely correct. There are ways to readily identify. Look, if you look at the FBI's profilers program, it's been spot on. So we know how to identify these people and their potential for violence. And there are manuals out there, but you got to ask, why aren't we using them? Why aren't we doing early intervention in households and in school, from school settings? And
you know what, Doc just pointed some out when he said household, school setting. There's so many different levels that I think, Greg, these type of behaviors can be identified. But the one thing that I had the question for was this man was enrolled at FSU. I know that they have a lot of things going on. I'm sure that they have certain mechanisms in place, but you know, to have John Burns on the show and what his company does, man, to be able to identify those red flags, they can save lives.
But you know what?
I'm gonna say this. To your point, I'm gonna say this. Because right now the young man is still in the hospital. I guarantee you that once he's out of the hospital and they charge him and they're able to really and truly look at this person and what has led up to this, I guarantee you're going to see 911 calls. I guarantee you're going to see those things that were being ignored.
That all were flags along the way. Listen, I have a nephew. I usually don't share this because he is mentally challenged, but when he was a kid, he was a wonderful kid, and he just got outrageous as he as he got older. And I remember being his advocate when he was in school, and he went to a special school in Orange County. They completely failed him from the start to the finish. They would even get so upset to tell them, don't let me in the meeting, the IEP meeting, because I was too disruptive. No, see, when you know mental health and you know what's going on, they don't want that opinion in there, because now they're bound to do something. And I watched them kick the can with him, and he ended up sadly he's incarcerated for the next 40 years.
Hey,
And the thing is, they failed him.
But with your point in case, Doc, and Greg, I open this up. Man, we all would pray that there's a red flag so that we can capture things and stop them before that happens. But
there are, Rod, but people ignore. How can you stop it if it's ignored? They are identifying these kids. You go sit in you used to be the deputy director of juvenile justice. Go and sit in some of these courtrooms. Go down there on Michigan.
But here's the hook. Here's the hook that we've seen take place. And Greg, I think you identified it in Michigan when you start seeing around the country that there's consequences being put in place, and that if you don't act when you see that it's clear and obvious, the mother and the father, I think, Greg, they both were charged. They were charged. Yeah. But when you have a level of accountability,
and the kid in Georgia, remember the kid in Georgia, his dad was charged. There's no difference between that kid in Georgia that did that shooting in Georgia and this.
You're right.
The only difference is the age.
You're right. Yeah. But I think the only thing that's going to make a difference, man, is accountability and consequences.
Well, we've got to be the voices that are intercepting, because right now everybody's is hiding their hands until it gets to this. Till it blows up.
Well, what we found though, and here's what I see when you talk about corporations or government. I'm gonna put those. It's almost as if no person can be held. No individual person is held accountable, and it's just part of the big machine. And something happened, and we're all sad about it. But there's nobody to hold accountable. And Greg, when you talk about corporations or governmental entities, yeah, some people look at a level of accountability as the legal consequence of, what is it, Greg? The financial remunerations?
Yeah, remuneration. But but to that point though, the family of the guy, the gentleman who was killed from South Carolina, they've lawyered up. And what they've said is that, the family wants to stay silent until they find out, who's responsible for this. And we know who's responsible. The young man who did the shooting is responsible. Here's what I think turns a lot of people off about these unfortunate incidences and these unfortunate cases, is that to many it feels as if this now becomes a business of making millions of dollars in lawsuits. And in this particular case, I think that if they try to reach and say that Leon County Sheriff's Office has any responsibility in this, I think that they're wrong. If they say that Florida State in any form or fashion has any responsibility in this, I personally think that they're wrong. I think that this was a sick young man, a sick individual who got a hold of his mom's firearm that he should not have had access to in any shape, form, or fashion, and he committed this crime. Now, if the mom has homeowners insurance and whatever that policy is, yeah, go after them, go after that policy. But I don't think that this is one where Leon County Sheriff's Office needs to be called to the carpet.
And I agree with you. There is no liability or culpability on their part.
But somebody's going to try to find that.
Yeah, but college ain't high school. It's not that involved. It's where you go to learn to be an adult on your own. Mm-hmm. And so to say that Florida State had any liability and Leon County had any, that's not fair.
You know what?
I don't think, I'm not the lawyer, you're the lawyer, but I don't think you can even make an argument for their
but you know what?
I don't think so.
Here's one of those instances that I think we're all agreeing when we have seen certain situations where we say, well, look at the response time. A situation that happened here in Florida where we say, why didn't law enforcement go in?
Yeah, what was that? Israel and Phil Douglas. When he sat outside and heard all of the gunshots.
Exactly.
This is a larger problem. Now I'm going to say this, and it might be controversial, but this is me saying it. And people may not agree because a lot of people, when they hear this point of view, they don't want to hear it. We have a crisis of young white boys in this country. Many of them are lost. They are not given any more direction than young black boys. And they are told to be successful. They're told that they have opportunity. And when they show up, it's not there. Many of them, they don't know what to do with themselves. There's no, it's almost like in this country, the media has made it shameful for white people to need help. To me, because they twisted the messages that if you're white, you should be living like they are on TV and have this lifestyle and run to the beach in Hawaii, on spring break with your friends and all that. And the reality is that many of these kids, they're invisible to the system. And because of that, they don't have anywhere to turn. I bet you can't find a person in that young man's life that was there to mentor him and to help him deal with what he was dealing with.
Well, Doc, man, Doc, you're right, man. I mean, it's just a sad situation, man. And we're having this conversation, man, and hopefully some of the content of this conversation will help. But this is a tough segue from the tragedy that took place at FSU. And Greg, something that has been all over the news, man, all day that we got to talk about, and that is the passing of Pope Francis.
Yeah. So I believe it was 1:35 this morning. Pope Francis, 88 years old, from Buenos Aires, Argentina, the 266th head of the Roman Catholic Church, passed away. He had recently, I want to say as recent as a month ago, had been hospitalized. He was battling pneumonia. They had just released him. On Saturday, he had met with Vice President J.D. Vance. On Sunday, he did the Easter blessing at St. Peter's Basilica and went to bed last night. And, unfortunately, he succumbed, to age and to his illness.
Hey, Greg, he held that post for how many years?
12 years.
12 years.
Yeah, 12 years. He took over from Pope Benedict, who actually retired. I had not, I know it has happened in the past, but I had not heard of a Pope
retired.
This is the first time in our lifetime one retired.
Yeah, he became Pope Emeritus. So,
Greg, help me with this.
Pontiff Emeritus.
Greg, help me with this, man. The 266th head of the Roman Church.
Yeah, they've been around. They've been around. They've been around a long time, man.
I saw that, man, and I was okay.
Yeah. So, but what now is the time because Pope Francis, from all accounts, was one of the more liberal popes. Mm-hmm. He was one of the ones who gave the Catholic Church some idea that a homosexual marriage would be acceptable, that women could be priests, and so he was a more liberal branch of the Roman Catholic Church. He was also a Jesuit, which look up Jesuit. I looked it up, and it's absolutely fascinating what Jesuits are. It's actually the order of Jesus.
Okay.
And the way that they do things. But what they're saying is now, is that now the Catholic Church may be turning towards a more conservative pope. And one of the more conservative cardinals out there who may be considered for pope is a gentleman or is a cardinal from Africa.
Well, Greg, with that, explain to me this, that kind of break this conclave thing down to me.
As best I can. You know I'm Methodist. You know I'm Methodist. Now I might, and now for all my Roman Catholic friends, don't get mad at me. Now he asked the question. I'm gonna try this. Now.
Okay.
I'm gonna try because I saw the movie Conclave. That's all I'm gonna try.
That's
Give
okay.
it to me. Give me the question.
Well, I mean, but I'm just so the process. How does this process start, and what's all involved in it? I mean, you know what? We're so familiar with how we select our governmental leaders.
Mhm.
How does the Catholic Church go through this process?
It is fascinating. It is absolutely fascinating. And if you've never seen, like, there was a show called on HBO called The Young Pope. They have a movie out right now called The Conclave, which kind of tracks and follows how the Pope is selected. And for what I'm understanding, it is a very realistic view of how the Pope is elected. But what they do is they have to go through the process of mourning and then burying the Pope. That's going to take about 9 days. They're calling all of the cardinals who are under the age of 80 who can potentially serve as Pope. These cardinals will come to a room. They will be sequestered, and they're going to go into a room.
Wait, hold up. Wait.
What?
You say they call all the cardinals that are under the age
Of 80.
of 80.
Yeah.
So I know you mentioned Methodist, but you and I are both familiar with the age that AME pastors have to retire. You know what age that is, right?
I know the age. I know the age.
So that is a significant difference.
Listen, listen.
It's 70. I mean, it's 70.
Listen. No other religious order will be able to top what Catholic priests, cardinals, and the Pope have to go through.
Man,
They take a vow of celibacy from the point that they can even know who they are. Their lives are completely dedicated to Christ and to God, completely dedicated. Now, no disrespect to my Methodist and my Baptist brethren, but they can get married, they can have families, they can have children, they can have side businesses and everything else. Catholic priests and cardinals are completely and utterly dedicating their lives to Christ, like no other religious order that I can think of, aside from like monks and things like that.
Yeah.
But even monks in Thailand and things, they are completely and utterly, and the nuns are equally as dedicated. If you show me anyone that can do that,
man,
then we can talk. And that's why, to them, age, the older you are, that means that's how much time you have committed and dedicated yourself to God and to Christ.
Makes sense.
So what they do is they bring them all in, they sequester, meaning that they remove them from everybody, and it's just the cardinals, and they take a vote. And the Pope has to receive 3/4 of the vote in order to become Pope. And it's a process. They have a dean of the conclave who basically runs the election for the
Is it a
election
secret?
of the
Is it a
Pope.
secret process or?
So what they do is they will take a sheet of paper and they put it. It's a secret ballot, but they go up and they whatever they do, they bless it, and and that's what they do. And so what did it say? Pope Francis picked 50% of the current cardinals. That's interesting. So that's the process of selecting the Pope. Now, what happens is as they select the Pope, they take the paper and they burn the paper, and depending on the color of the smoke, tells the crowd that's awaiting if they have a new Pope. So when they burn the paper, if it burns black, they don't have a new Pope.
Oh, so this process can continue until
you have 3/4 of the vote. And you have people that are jockeying and like any other political process, because as much as they dedicate themselves to God and Christ, this is still a political process.
Hold up now. And this is not an equivalent by no means.
Right.
But you recall that we witnessed this. Who was it, Greg? It wasn't Mike Johnson. It's not the present Speaker of the House.
Yeah.
But remember, it was before him.
Oh, jeez.
You know what I'm talking about. Doc does too. The former Speaker of the House. That Greg, did it go?
Kevin. What's his name?
Did it go?
Not McCarthy.
McCarthy. That's what it was.
McCarthy.
Yeah. Hey, did it go 15? Did they go?
It went a lot.
Yeah.
Over 50 votes, wasn't it? 50 ballots? Wasn't it 50 rounds?
It's that type of process. And you decide, like, if a certain pope doesn't if a certain candidate for pope doesn't get a certain number of votes, then that person may say, well, listen, don't support me. Let's support this person, and let's get my supporters to support him.
Okay, another question, and I guess I'm gonna lay this out for maybe it might be John Burns, but who was or what age was the youngest pope? I mean, I'm just curious. If you say everybody under 80, now let John Burns, Greg, you cheating, man. But who
Y'all
was,
doing the same thing.
who was the youngest? What age was the youngest pope ever? And then, you know, I guess the question from that, how long were they the pope?
Probably 20 minutes, 20, 30 minutes.
20, 30 minutes. Listen to that. But Greg, that process.
Who was the youngest pope?
That process is fascinating. You see, Greg.
The youngest pope in history is traditionally believed to be Pope Benedict IX, who first became pope in 1032. Age at election estimates vary, but he was likely around 11 to 20 years old. There you have it. Ask and ye shall receive. And listen, here's the thing also. Did you all know that they are in the midst of canonizing the youngest saint and the first millennial saint right now? And they're having to stop that process now that the Pope has passed away, and they're going to finish it once they finish with the Pope. But the youngest saint and the first millennial saint is being canonized as we speak.
And this process is already.
You know, it's I'm sitting here listening to y'all, and you know, the Catholic Church is a mystery to us Protestants, you know, because I understand behind it. So we don't go and embrace those things that the Catholic Church do, you know? So, and it's interesting because we have certain elements of the Protestant church that are taken from the Catholic church, like the Apostles' Creed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, so religious is a strange thing when man is in charge of it.
But you know what? But here's something I will say. I attended, and I don't know, Greg, if I mentioned this to you, I attended a friend who passed away this maybe 3 weeks ago. His funeral. He was Catholic.
Okay.
That process, the funeral, was totally foreign to me.
Mm-hmm.
That was the first time, and you know, as soon as you entered the church, the casket was right there. As soon as you walked in.
Interesting.
I mean, and it
like
was
in the foyer.
As soon as you, the foyer. As soon as you walk, you know, from a
yeah. Let me ease myself. Into this.
From A&B perspective, you know, we go in and you observe when the casket is open. You go.
Yeah, but you see it way up there. You be like, all right, I'm gonna walk up there. Not you walk in the door and be like, wait a minute. Yeah.
And you know, as soon as I walked in, you see priests standing by the casket with, you know, holding the cross. And I mean, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
And you know how we do from our faith and culture, we gonna put our hand on the, you know, and you know, I'm just.
Who do that?
I do that. I do that. Let me say,
you do that, Doc?
Hey, I do that. Hey,
I'm not doing that.
On the clothes.
I was raised AME. I'm non-denominational.
Hey, but you know, it was an experience. And
did they tell you? Did you do that?
You know what? I ain't gonna lie. I normally, you know, when I'm
just kind of just
and some of the folk that were there, and I saw a few other people do it afterwards. So then I'm like, okay, I don't feel bad.
Right.
But it was a different experience. But you know, it's still the same experience that we have in our faith, where you're supporting the family, you're paying your respect, you're in the at least the church with Rev. When you go to kneel, there's some comfort down there in the pews.
Yeah, they got the little thing.
Yeah, the folds
they know
out.
how to do it.
Yeah, it was a totally different experience, man. But like Doc said, man, it was a mystery to me.
Yeah. But I mean, listen, the whole process of selection of Pope, I think that I've seen it. I remember Pope Paul John II. I remember when he passed away. So I remember when the Pope before the current Pope was selected, which was Pope Benedict. And then I remember Pope Francis. So this is going to be like the fourth Pope that I've seen in my lifetime.
Great. Before we leave this topic, and I don't know if you mentioned this, and Doc may know, but how many days of mourning take place?
I would say 9 days.
9 days.
Yeah,
Okay.
9 days. I know it's a 2-week process. I want to say 9 days to mourn the Pope, and then that's during the time they're going to be gathering all of the cardinals to come as well.
Man.
Yeah.
You know,
Hey,
man.
so we gotta hit fast forward on a couple of things here. And Greg, I want to open it up. Florida legislative session, man, is going to be. It may possibly be concluding Senate on May the 2nd,
Yeah.
but it may not occur
Really, what's going on?
because you have the issue, a whole lot of unresolved issues in the legislature now that, people are wondering if it's going to conclude on time now.
That's interesting. That's very interesting. I mean, but one of the things that I think that it's worth circling back on, Brother Love, is one of the more pressing issues for minority communities or underserved communities is that it appears that CRAs are going to be sunsetted or terminated. And I just want to just kind of circle back because now is the time when municipalities who were not doing things to address slum and blight in their communities, they need to be putting together a plan rather quickly in order to properly use those funds that taxpayers are putting their monies into the TIF funds or into the TIF in order to address slum and blight in their areas.
Great. To your knowledge, man, I guess the termination date, because no new projects can be funded.
After a certain period.
And so the monies that's in the TIF fund now, when I say TIF, I assume that people know what that stands for, and that is the tax increment funds.
Yep.
And so, Greg, now, do those dollars have to be encumbered? Do they have to
With projects, yeah.
Okay.
They have to be encumbered with projects, and they have to be projects that are on the books. I want to say on or before October 25th, or is it July 25th? Because they've done some interesting stuff with it. But yeah, they're going to have to move. So it has to be in their plan by July 25th, and it has to be executed or in motion by October 25th, if I remember right.
Well, one of the quandaries, and I think I sent you this video from an individual that was testifying before the legislature, and he was talking about some of the development projects that have like a 2 or 3 year span and trying to plead the case. So
don't matter. But listen, this is what I'm gonna say. And I'm gonna probably get some brushback and some hate on this, but I blame the community at large. And I blame, certain politicians who are either not educated or not connected enough to the community to properly use those dollars. Because, if CRAs were being used what they were initially put in enactment for in 1969, which was to address slum and blight, CRAs should have been out of existence within 10 to 20 years. And the fact that we still have CRAs is a testament that those monies probably were not being used in the best fashion. And again, I go back to the city where I live. When I saw $1 million going towards a parking lot, the fact that there weren't more people out of the community standing on their head. And I don't even live in the area where the CRA is situated and where tax dollars, because it's their tax dollars. And I think people forget that it's the individuals who live in that area's tax dollars. And I was shocked that more people from that area weren't standing on their head demanding for those monies to go back into their community to address slum and blight, to address sustainable businesses in those areas, because they could have had businesses right now that could be providing jobs so that people could provide for their own housing instead of asking the government to do anything for them.
Well, now it's on the way out.
So I blame the community at large. I blame uneducated politicians and politicians who just didn't have a sense of their own community. Period. And here's the thing too now, because if you look at CRAs, and I guess one of the reasons I'm so passionate about certain projects, if you look at CRAs and the attorneys that are asked to help CRAs, a lot of them don't look like it. And it's important to have someone who understands certain things about your community because, listen, when I was growing up, I grew up in a place called the Projects. I know about certain things in certain areas and how to work towards bettering certain areas and communities without a lot of red tape and moving the obstacles out of the way, where folks who have not lived in those areas, they don't have to look like me, but if you have not lived in those areas and experienced certain things, you don't understand what it means to get projects done and push through with your assistance to do so.
So, Greg, and I'm going to say this real quick. With CRAs all across the state, if you weren't at the table in the development of those CRA plans to make sure that they're impacting what they should have been impacting, a lot of those plans could have been the demise of those CRAs from the beginning.
Well, if you weren't because a lot of people weren't at the table initially, but those CRA plans could be amended. And that's the thing. The community could have at any time came in and held their elected officials accountable and said, you're not using those dollars for the betterment of our community. These are our ideas. And if they didn't listen to your ideas, you vote them out. So I blame the community at large. I blame uneducated politicians. I blame politicians who do not have a true sense of their community, period.
But I'll tell you what, Greg, I'm going to push you a little bit on this. Frustrations of working with Generation Z.
And let me tell you something, man. Generation Z, this younger generation, man, they are a trip to deal with. And I have a situation that I'm currently dealing with the Gen Z on staff. And they do things that we as Gen X's would never think about doing. Ever. And so, I mean, there's some things, Brother Lord, go through the list real quick about things that Generation X can do that millennials and Generation Zers can't do.
Okay, read a map.
They can't read a map. You're right. What's the next one?
Okay, fix things instead of replacing them.
Yeah, if they can't fix something, if they can't figure out what they do, they throw it away and they think that money grows on trees and they go buy something.
Here's a good one. Calculate change in your head without a calculator.
Listen, I'm amazed. I can go to, like, when I
Hey,
go to
you ain't lying. What?
I was like, hey, give me such and such. You ain't gotta put that on no computer. Here it is. That's my change.
Hey, here's another one. And I'm gonna go ahead and say, man, I'm bad at this, but at least I know you and Doc's phone number by memory.
They don't know phone numbers nowadays. They can tell your phone number, say their life. What's up?
Hey, call customer service and actually get results
Because they don't know how to deal with conflict.
They don't know how to deal with conflict.
They don't know how to deal with conflict.
Hey, great. Entertain themselves without starting or staring at a screen.
Yep. All these Gen Zers and millennials, the only thing they know is the telephone. I remember during the hurricane. What you said happened with you and your daughters during the hurricane?
Oh man, when we started talking, man, when the internet went out.
Yeah, you start having conversation. You start having real conversation. You start playing real games like Monopoly and Yahtzee and Scrabble and things like that. These kids don't know it.
And that's when electric was out for days. Great. Here go, man. Oh man, you really went deep.
What's that?
Balance a checkbook.
Nah, they can't even balance the checkbook anymore, man.
Hey, but no. Here's a classic. And we all had to learn how to do this.
I know what you're going.
Write in cursive.
Yep.
Man, do you remember?
They can't write in cursive.
Yeah. To see them print or their signature is crazy.
Yeah, because remember we used to do that when we were kids because we couldn't write in cursive. So you wrote your name in like regular script.
Hey, here's a good one. And I'm gonna say this before I say what it is. Remember we used to kind of, and I don't know, the Betty Crocker cookbooks. Now cook meals without following a TikTok video.
Hey, they need TikTok for everything. Have y'all seen these kids dancing now? The little dance that they do on TikTok. That's not dancing. What is this stuff?
Man, I don't know what it is.
Listen, man. Hey, Doc, you can still go and cut some rug if you go to the club right now.
Say that again.
You still cut a little rug. You go to the club right now.
See, he don't even know what you're talking about. Cut rug.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Hey, these young kids don't know how to cut the rug, man.
Dance.
Hey, but last but not least, handle awkward situations without running away.
They don't know what they're doing, man. They get uncomfortable, and they just can't take it. They can't take it.
Hey, well, now my kids reverse that, because when I'm having a conversation with them and they turn the tables on me, sometimes it's like, all right, we'll talk again later, and they will follow me.
And
they'll follow me.
They'll stay on you.
Hey, for those of you tuned in to Let's Talk Nation, and I apologize earlier, man, we just got so many doggone shows going, man. We don't know what to do.
That's a good thing, though.
Yeah, that
Hey,
is.
listen,
That is.
speaking of shows, I got to do this real quick. I hope you and Dr. Mind. I got to plug the two dietitians. The two dietitians, that is the lovely Biana Toby Jackson and her friend Renee. They are going out. They're looking at different places where you can buy healthy foods and coming back and talking about how do you prepare those foods, what's good for you, what's not. Kind of like what we talked about on the show. So be on the lookout for the two dietitians. They got some content that's going out. I'm trying to convince them to sit down and do some stuff so that we can put them on Let's Talk Nation. But the two dietitians is a great podcast. The two dietitians is a great podcast. You got to be on the lookout for it.
Man, we look forward to seeing it, man. Look forward to seeing it. Hey, we are at the close of this show, but be on the lookout for is that the title? The two dietitians. Hey, the two dietitians. All right, I'm with it now. Hey, Greg, man, this has been good, man. And I know we got a great deal of things, man, that's coming up this week.
I'm gonna do like you do, Doc. Wrap it up.
Wrap it up.
Look at time. Wrap it up.
Wrap it up.
That's how you do, Doc, right? Hey, Doc, that's how you do you, right? Wrap it up. Hey,
I'm gonna wrap it up. But boy, next week we got to talk about this race coming up, and I'm not gonna say which one. But Greg. All right, Doc. Hey, Greg.
You need to get the two dietitian one of these so it can follow them around and videotape.
Oh, you know what? We need to talk. Definitely, we need to talk on that.
Yeah, I can't get mine to work.
That's the Neo.
I can't get mine to work.
Yeah. Shoot me the link on that.
It's out
Shoot him the link on that, Doc.
Huh?
Shoot him the link on that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, Brother Jackson, man, you don't have to go home.
But you got to get out of here.
Until next week on Let's Talk Nation. Hey, y'all, join us and join the conversation. We look forward to having you.